forecast first on Color 10 News, Ozarks First.
Well, low clouds trying to erode away from the west are actually giving way to fog. And we've got some low visibilities back toward I-49 and west where dense fog advisory is in place. I'm worried that that fog is going to be spreading east overnight tonight. We could find some dense fog maybe here in Springfield as well. At the very least, I think we start tomorrow off with low clouds and light to moderate fog. Temperatures in the mid-20s at 7, upper 20s at 9. By late morning, though, we should see that low cloudiness giving way to sunshine. And I'm expecting bright weather for the afternoon with highs up near 41. The warming trend really gets underway as we wrap up this week and head into next week, Christmas week. I'll have more on that coming up. Color 10 News at 10 starts now.
Now, from Ozarks First, you're watching Color 10 News at 10.
As an impeachment vote approaches, some in Springfield are rallying in support of impeaching the president. Good evening, I'm Heather Lewis. David Oliver is off tonight. Our Jesse Inman was at that rally in South Springfield earlier tonight. He's back in the studio with us now. So, Jesse, what was the turnout like for this event tonight?
You know, it was cold outside this evening, but the cold did not keep people from both sides to come out and voice their opinions on whether or not President Donald Trump should be impeached. If you drove through the intersection of Glenstone and Battlefield around 5:30 Tuesday evening, you likely saw this, a rally organized by those who support the impeachment of President Donald Trump. Shannon Wright is one of those supporters, and she believes the president broke the law.
Well, the main message is really about the president is going to be impeached. People need to understand that part is a fact. He also does really need to be removed from office. He has abused his power. He has requested interference from a foreign power into our elections, which is illegal.
The only opposer of impeachment willing to talk to us on camera at the rally was Nick Helm. He believes President Trump has done nothing wrong when it comes to involvement in Ukraine.
There's 3 branches of government, and he's the head of the executive branch, so he can do whatever he wants at the head of the executive branch, and they'll bring it up in Congress and the Senate, and that's how our government works.
One of the articles of impeachment, obstruction of Congress, was discussed as well amongst those at the rally. Local history professor Michael Verney says he'd like to see the Senate trial include key White House officials close to the Ukraine situation, who the president allegedly kept from testifying during the House hearings.
I am hoping that senators will take their role as jurors very seriously. I'm hoping that they will come to the conclusion that if the president has nothing to hide, then he should let some of his senior staff show up and testify and be witnesses in this trial.
Helm says regardless of who testifies, no matter how close they were to the situation, he doesn't see hard evidence that the president committed a crime.
If they had all this evidence, he wouldn't have made it to the nomination. If they had this evidence, he would have made it to president. And now here we are. They have nothing except to, call for impeachment. So we'll see. We'll see what the evidence is. I want to see both sides represented.
Now, I also had the chance to speak to Republican Senator Josh Hawley today. He was in Washington. Obviously, he opposes impeachment. Here is a little bit of what he had to say.
The Democrats did not even attempt to follow normal order, normal process in the United States House. They rushed this through, and everybody, I think, now realizes, even Nancy Pelosi, that the process that they underwent was a total joke and that the public is unhappy about it. And the public should be unhappy. Missourians should be unhappy about this because all that has happened in the last few months in the House is 100% partisan politics.
Had the chance to speak to Senator Hawley for just under 9 minutes today. We talked a little bit more about impeachment, talked about tariffs, as well as what some of his goals are for 2020. You can find all of that conversation right now on ozarksfirst.com. Check that out and let us know your thoughts in the comments on Facebook.
All right, Jesse Inman tonight reporting for us. Thank you. President Trump also gave his opinion on the upcoming impeachment vote in a 6-page letter to House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. The president wrote more due process was afforded to those accused in the Salem witch trials and told Speaker Pelosi, you have cheapened the importance of the very ugly word impeachment.
They know it's a hoax, it's a witch hunt, and it's just a continuation. It's been going on now for almost 3 years.
All the debate and testimony in recent weeks appear to have changed a few minds on Capitol Hill. The vote is expected to fall largely along party lines in the Democratic House before heading to the Republican-controlled Senate.
It's clear that Senator McConnell wants to use the Senate to help participate in a cover-up.
The House made a partisan political decision to impeach. I would anticipate we will have a largely partisan outcome in the Senate. I'm not impartial about this at all.
The Senate Majority Leader has said a trial will be the first order of business in the new year, but the timing and format remain unclear. It has been almost exactly 21 years since the House voted to impeach President Bill Clinton, by the way. That happened on December 19, 1998. President Clinton's trial lasted 5 weeks before ending in an acquittal the following February. Making news now, a local man is now facing charges after a shooting this morning at the Springfield Underground. It resulted in one man sustaining non-life-threatening injuries. 26-year-old Stanley Johnson is facing charges of first-degree assault and unlawful use of a weapon. Springfield Underground is about a 3.5 million square foot underground development of storage and warehouse space. The Springfield Police Department said in a statement, it appears at this time this was a random incident and not directed to a specific person or business. We spoke to a man who works at the underground who said this is not the first active shooter situation that he's been in.
This is the fourth active shooter situation I've been in my life. First one was in '82 in high school. And so this morning I get to work sitting in my office. About 8 o'clock my boss calls and says, there's an active shooter situation. Get away from the windows. Make sure everybody goes into the back of the warehouse.
John Griesmer has more about Springfield Underground's security system and improvements that are planned, and that more are in the extended interview you can find only on ozarksfirst.com. Turning to medical coverage now at 10, many are familiar with the lack of rural hospitals across the state of Missouri, but that could be an issue many candidates will campaign on heading into 2020. The CEO of a local hospital shared with us ideas on how to fix this problem going into an election year. Color 10's Madison Heaver has this story.
Imagine living out here in rural Missouri where it's peaceful, but there could be a downfall to that. Imagine breaking a bone or having a heart attack and the nearest hospital is over an hour-and-a-half away.
I think rural areas struggle. Access to care is very limited.
That's what many in rural Missouri face when it comes to medical care. Donald Babb is the CEO of Citizens Memorial Hospital.
We're in pretty good shape.
A hospital in Bolivar that's been pretty successful. But that's not the case for other rural hospitals, which are struggling with debt and some even closing.
Yeah, I think there's a perception that hospitals make a lot of money. That's not really true. Some of the facilities or communities don't have clinics, and so there's no one there to provide any type of care to them.
And that leaves many Missourians in a tough spot.
And I think the thing that's important to the patients and families who live in those areas is access to care. So if your hospital shuts down, where do you go? You have to go to an urban area, which in most cases is an hour to hour-and-a-half drive.
So what can be done about this?
How do we keep them? I think that's a big question, and I don't think any of us know the answer unless there's a better reimbursement that comes from either the state or the federal government.
Some say it could become a major campaign issue for 2020, but if lawmakers create a platform on trying to fix the rural hospital crisis, will they follow through in office?
I think you hear a lot of them talk about it, but you don't see a lot of activity. Once they get in office, they find other priorities. All the legislative people within our immediate area we're in contact with continually, and they understand the struggles, but also they understand the limitations of the state and what they can do.
The Missouri 2020 legislative session starts at the beginning of the new year. In Bolivar, Madison Heaver, Ozarks First.
You can find more from that interview with Babb on our website, ozarksfirst.com, or right on your phone using the Color 10 app. Happening now, Hoover Music Company in Springfield has announced it will be closing its doors in mid-January. The president of Hoover Music Company, James Brian Hoover, made that announcement on Facebook this morning, and some in the community are already sharing how they feel about the news.
I was really disappointed because it's been a big part of my life for so many years. So, I don't know, they've just become family, and it's just kind of really sad. They're just such an icon here in Springfield.
In the Post, Hoover says the company has been part of the community for the past 107 years and part of 5 generations of the Hoover family. The Post goes on to say that the store will be open until mid-January, and there will be more details coming soon for those in rental contracts with Hoover Music Company. For more on the history of Hoover Music Company, check out our website for an interview with John Sellers from the History Museum. 3 nominees have been selected for the next associate judge in Greene County. Here's a look at those. The 31st Circuit Judicial Commission selected the nominees after 2 days of interviews with 9 candidates. That position became vacant after Becky Borthwick was selected for a circuit judge position here in Greene County. Governor Mike Parson now has 60 days to make a selection from the nominees. Well, we've been fighting to shake off this cold, but it looks like tomorrow everything's finally going to start melting away. Is that right, Jamie?
Yeah, it looks like we turned the corner on Wednesday, and it looks like by Christmas Day, it's going to feel almost like springtime. We've got some much warmer weather on the way. A look at the pattern shift coming up.
You're watching Color 10 News. Ozarks First with David Oliver. Heather Lewis. Weather with Chief Meteorologist Jamie Warner. And sports with Dan Lucy. This is Color 10 News at 10.